Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to mismapasion, and the first international break of the year is officially in the books, which means, of course, that the WSL returned to our screens the Super Sunday that had some welcoming clashes to cleanse the palate to usher in the return of club football in the women's game. The action began in Manchester, where informed United locked horns to seemingly resurgent Leicester City in a match whose result would have ramifications on the season's ambitions of both clubs. United were unsurprisingly the dominant side early on as they held the ball ransom, and Leicester struggled to arrest the stranglehold imposed early on by the hosts. The Foxes were hanging in by the skin of their teeth and threatened on the set piece to get something, but United held firm and actually turned the momentum back in their favor with a counterattack that was finished by an unchallenged Mallard to give the Red Devils the deserving lead. The half would come to a close with an effective team goal by the hosts yet again this time, with Galton finding the net to give her side the commanding lead going into the second half. United's concentration on the game would inexplicably nosedive in these last 45 minutes, whether it was due to the two-goal cushion or a bid to control the game just a little bit more reservedly, we will never know. But Leicester definitely did take this as an invitation to come forward, and come forward the Foxes did, as they began to bear down on the home defense, especially out wide. But Tilda's Joyce would not be shaken, as she rose to the occasion whenever called upon. And despite Leicester's plucky resolve, the Foxes would prove too blunt in front of goal as Man United held on to their 2-goal lead to bag all 3 points and maintain their win streak since the turn of the year, and also keeping up the chase on Chelsea, albeit still fleetingly, but we'll see a little bit change as we go on in this video. Up next was a trio of dead rubber encounters that honestly went the way anyone would expect, as there was not much to write home about except for the latter of the three, which we will get to in just a little bit of a moment. But starting off these trifecta of predictability was a battle of the avians, as Crystal Palace welcomed Liverpool, who were embarking on their maiden voyage in the controversial aftermath of Matt Beard's 86ing from his managerial post. His absence wasn't felt too much as the Reds earned a narrow but decisive 1-0 win, courtesy of Jess Matthews, who took advantage of a loose ball and some poor defending from a set piece to compound the misery on Palace's survival hopes, despite the Eagles, as usual, putting in a good account of themselves. Up next was the apple of my ire in Aston Villa, who were paid a visit by the resurgent Everton, and when an irresistible force meets a highly movable object that stood upon a slippery surface, you get what you would expect. And on this occasion, it was Villa getting rolled over by the visitors, courtesy of a superb opener from Maren Mjelde, who volleyed her effort into goal before Hayashi put the game to bed in the second half after some poor defending from Villa, who undermined yet again despite showing some teeth in the game. The last of the triumvirate of dead rubbers came in London, where Tottenham Hotspur took on Man City in what was arguably the feistiest encounter of the day so far. Both teams entered the game with varying bits of fortune, with Spurs coming off a 5-0 drubbing at the hands of local rivals Arsenal, while City themselves put the boots to Liverpool prior to this encounter, so there was much to play for on both ends with regards to momentum at the very least. City started decently, but Spurs were on top early on as the Lily Whites laid siege to the City defense, but Yamashita and co stood firm against the early fire, but the warning signs were there nevertheless. City did manage though to shake off the early scares and managed to go in front with the Fujino sister cross that Miedema not at home to sucker punch Spurs. The Lily Whites would not be winded for too long, as the home side would come back for revenge, with Beth Ignan scoring a screamer to put things level for her side going into the second half. Both sides continued to swing at each other, and City were looking the likeliest of the two to get something out of the game, as Alba Fujino, as is commonplace now, was a real live wire for the citizens, and her hard work in particular paid off when she seemingly took inspiration from England with an epic screamer of her own to snatch the lead, and ultimately the win for Man City in what was a really great sleeper hit of a game that really could have gone either way, but on this day it was City's to have. The penultimate game of the week saw league leaders Chelsea taking a trip to the coast to face off against out-of-form Brighton, with the Blues aiming to restore their 7-point lead at the summit. Chelsea were on top of things early on, and this was superbly accentuated by a sumptuous volley from Sandy Baltimore early into the game to give Chelsea the lead. Brighton would respond positively to the setback, and the relentlessness would eventually yield dividends as honest laggers would pull a goal back with a wonderful goal from a tight angle that would be imitated in the next game that we'll cover in a bit. But back to this game though, and Brighton's good response continued, and Chelsea soon found themselves in a muddle, as Brighton would complete the comeback with a good tap-in from Losada to give the Seagulls the lead going into the second half. Chelsea looked like they were out to dinner, and the new partnership of Naomi Girma and Millie Bright for Chelsea would not last too long either, as the former would go off injured in what looked like a really bothersome injury, but hopefully it's nothing too detrimental. But her team would not have to worry much in her absence, as the Blues would level not too long after Girma's departure in what was a controversially scored goal by Lauren James, who upon replay was actually offside. But it seemed as though none of the officials caught on to it, and thus the goal stood. Convenience or conspiracy, we will never know, but what we do know is that Chelsea had brought themselves back from the dead, but it would not be enough as Brighton managed to hang in there and snatch a point from the encounter to soil the momentum of the league leaders, but it was a great fight from the Seagulls, who in my opinion were robbed of the max points given the offside goal. The calls for VAR grow louder and louder with each passing day. Continuing the drama and intensity of the prior match, Arsenal and West Ham close out the game week's action, thus bringing to an end Manchester United's 3-week streak of closing out the game week. Obscure feats aside, and West Ham provided their own brilliant feats in this game, as the visiting Hammers punished the Gunners not once but twice from the host shoddy corner defending, with a headed brace from Amber Tiziak to cause some early shell shock that nearly stunned the home team support into silence. West Ham had the opposition's number, and their game plan in absorbing pressure before hitting Arsenal on the counter was proving massively rewarding, as they could have extended their lead further as the likes of Leah Williamson were chasing shadows for the remainder of the first half. And if it weren't for the likes of Chloe Kelly up top, Arsenal would not have been granted the reprieve towards halftime, as a great cross from downtown was latched onto by Kelly herself, who drew one back to make it game on come the second half. Said reprieve though did not last as long, as West Ham quickly restored their 2-goal cushion early on in the second half, courtesy of a solo effort from Martinez that was reminiscent of Mallard's own goal in the first game of the day. This third goal proved to be the battle cry that injected a new state of play that will honestly go down in WSL folklore, as you just had to be there to really appreciate what unfolded in the second 45 of this game. Renee Slagers blinked first and quite literally, not literally, figuratively of course, but literally, brought out the big guns with a swathe of attack-minded substitutions that immediately paid dividends. In a textbook presentation of blink and you will miss it, Arsenal came from behind in a 6-minute stretch that saw Katie McCabe fizz across the keeper into the net. Leah Williamson headed home viciously from a corner before Mariona Caldente completed everything as she scored from the spot after West Ham's Kirsty Smith forgot that she was playing football and not volleyball. This match honestly peaked and did not come down from that peak till the very end, as even towards the 90th minute, more drama nearly transpired, with West Ham nearly bundling the ball into the opposition net to draw level, but Arsenal goalie Van Domselaar stood firm to deny the Hammers, and Arsenal eventually saw the 9 minutes of extra time to snatch all 3 points from a game where they fought from underneath to show some resilience that massively paid off for the Gunners. If you have just the necessary 5 minutes to spare today, then I beg you to go and watch the highlights video of the match here on the official WSL channel on YouTube, because you will be mesmerized. And with our collective jaws no longer agape due to that crescendo of a finish, Game Week 15 of the WSL comes to a close, with nothing major occurring in terms of table movement at either the summit nor the root of the table, with mid-table seeing the crux of any movement, albeit with next to no major ramifications as a result. But anyway, what did you think of the games played this weekend, especially Arsenal versus West Ham? Because let's be honest, that's what anyone and everyone is going to be talking about. Let me know your thoughts on this and anything else you found interesting in the comment section below. Make sure to like, share, subscribe for more content just like this that you can enjoy to your heart's content, and I will see you in the next one.